All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Cincinnati Bengals for a team that lost by 3 points in the AFC Championship. And prior to that, won 10 straight football games. You have Joe Burrow, you have Jamar Chase, you got a great defense. They're legitimate contenders. I can't find anything. There's nothing, there's no hype, there's nothing going on with Cincinnati Bengals as far as national NFL media goes, which is just shocking. Because this is my pick to come out of the AFC. This is my pick to actually win the Super Bowl are the Cincinnati Bengals. They have the blueprint. I mean, they have the blueprint, and they just solidified their left tackle position with Orlando Brown Jr. I don't want to hear anything about an overpay. You have the blueprint. Cincinnati has the blueprint. You have your star franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. You have a left tackle. You got your star left tackle. You have your star wide receiver. You've got your star defensive end. You have your star linebacker. You have a rising star secondary in Cam Taylor-Britt. It's just shocking. It's just shocking how little this team is being hyped right now because they're that good. They're that good, man. So what I love about Cincinnati is they spend the money offensively. You know, they pay their defensive players, but they pay their important defensive players like we just mentioned. Defensively, if you want to win a championship, typically you go young, fast, and more importantly, cheap. Now, you still have your star players, and Cincinnati's defense still has their star players. But the thing is, in our last 5 Super Bowl winners, there has not been a single team that's won it that was a top 5 defense. Even the Los Angeles Rams and that crazy defense in the regular season, they finished 15th in the league. Cincinnati this past season, they finished 6th in total defense. So defensively, they're there. Offensively, they're exceptionally there. Joe Burrow's coming off a crazy season, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, a completion percentage of 68.3, threw for 280 yards per game. So we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals in tonight's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Actually, I haven't made a Bengals video in quite some time. So if we could try and get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the world to me. But guys, like I said, they have the blueprint. You spend the money on the offense. This is a scoring league. But the more important part is, defensively, they're still legit. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But I want to pinpoint 3 newcomers coming out of Cincinnati. Because when we take a look at this roster, you got Joe Burrow, you got Joe Mixon, you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. They're loaded right there. I mean, you're absolutely loaded. And as we mentioned, new addition, left tackle Orlando Brown Jr. coming on over from the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, I want to talk about Charlie Jones, special teams menace. He had a great preseason. He had a great camp. In his final year at Purdue, he had 110 catches for over 1,350 yards. He had 12 touchdowns and averaged 12.5 yards per catch. He's coming on over for Cincinnati as their 5th string wide receiver. 5th string wide receiver is Charlie Jones. Well, he's not the only C name coming on over from college. They also have Chase Brown. Now, I will admit, the 2 big losses for me with Cincinnati was Hayden Hurst and Samaje Perine. Samaje Perine, when Joe Mixon went down with that concussion, what was that, halfway through the season, Samaje came in and established himself as like, I'm that guy. And Bengals fans knew Samaje Perine was as reliable as they come for a backup running back. But losing Samaje to the Denver Broncos definitely stung. But it didn't sting for long because they drafted Chase Brown. And I think the reason nobody really is mentioning Chase Brown is, first off, the running back market in the NFL right now is just a whole whirlwind of just like all different things. The running back position right now in the market is not the position to be. So Chase Brown was selected later on in the draft. He had almost 1,900 total yards from scrimmage in his final year at Illinois. Now, I'm a little bit biased because I'm from Chicago and I've been to U of I a bunch of times. I love that campus. He had 328 rushes for over 1,600 yards and 10 touchdowns. He averaged 5 yards per carry. He averaged over 5 yards per carry in his entire collegiate career. His 5-year collegiate career, he averaged 5.3 yards per rush. But he also can catch, which is something Samaje Perine did very nicely. 27 catches, 240 yards in his final season at Illinois. So they got their future potential running back in Chase Brown. You also have Charlie Jones, which is just an intriguing guy because you already have Jamar Chase, you already have T. Higgins, you have Tyler Boyd, as consistent, as reliable as wide receivers 3 could possibly come. And that finally leaves us to the tight end position. And as we mentioned, losing Hayden Hurst, it sucks. You know, it's not ideal. But here's the thing. Irv Smith Jr. in Alabama, and this is about 4 years ago, he was a dog. Irv Smith Jr. out of Bama, was drafted in the second round to the Minnesota Vikings. Unfortunately, his tenure in Minnesota did not end well, and the TJ Hawkinson trade pretty much ended any future Irv Smith Jr. had with Minnesota. But in his first 2 seasons in the league, he had over 300 receiving yards, over 30 catches in both of those 2 years, and he had a total of 7 touchdowns. If there's going to be somebody to unlock Irv Smith Jr. and the potential that he has, well, it's clearly going to be one of the best wide quarterbacks in the National Football League in Joe Burrow. So I think Irv Smith Jr. this upcoming season, I think we're going to be looking at over 500 receiving yards and a handful of touchdowns. And with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, you don't really need anything crazy from the tight end position. You just want a reliable, above average, who does his job, tight end. And that's exactly what they have with Irv Smith Jr. You've heard the saying, we've all heard the saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I think that's exactly the case with Irv Smith Jr. I just don't really think that Minnesota was a good fit, and we clearly saw that when they traded for TJ Hawkinson. But I think Irv Smith Jr. has found a great home in Cincinnati. So that leaves us to the defense. You know, the big thing with defensively when talking about Cincinnati this past offseason, everyone's talking about who they lost. Bengals fans know who they had, though. And I think a great example would be a guy like Dax Hill. You know, Dax Hill was selected in the 2022 NFL draft out of Michigan in the first round. Well, we didn't see too much of Dax in his rookie season. Obviously, being a rookie, playing behind good players. But he played 15 games. He had 16 total tackles. But Dax Hill, there's something there with Dax Hill. And Bengals fans knew this, but the Bengals coaching staff definitely knows that. Cam Taylor-Britt, I was reading an article that said, I think it was a quote, I don't know who said the quote, but they said Cam Taylor-Britt could establish himself as the best cornerback in the National Football League this upcoming season. But my point stands as, you know, if you have concerns with the Bengals secondary, I don't think people are fully aware of who they have. Nick Scott comes on over from the Los Angeles Rams. Dax Hill comes up ready to shine in his sophomore campaign. New additions, DJ Turner II and Jordan Battle coming in at the cornerback and safety positions. They're going to be just fine secondary-wise. Then we take a look at the rest of the defense. Well, it's the Bengals defense. They finished 6th in the league for a good reason. You still have Sam Hubbard, DJ Reader, BJ Hill, Trey Hendrickson, Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt. You're still loaded on the defensive side. So I know this goes without saying because the Cincinnati Bengals lost by 3 in the AFC Championship game. They ended up going 12-4 in the regular season. But Cincinnati is a really good freaking football team. And it's just quite shocking to me how little this team is covered. I'm actually shocked by it. All I hear about Chiefs. The Chiefs are a great football team. But I know the tide will turn sooner rather than later, and it would not surprise me. And as you guys heard in the beginning of this video, I do anticipate it will happen this season. I think Joe Burrow will be at least an MVP candidate. I think he's going to win MVP. And I think this is the year for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I just want to get that out there before the season officially starts. But that's it for tonight, man. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. But guys, how are you feeling about Cincinnati? A win total doesn't even matter because this team's winning. This team, whether they win the division, if they dealt with injuries or whatever, they're still winning 10+ games regardless. They're still making the playoffs regardless. So my question to you guys is, how far is this Bengals team going? Let me know down below in the comments. But as always, hit that like button, hit that sub button. If you want more Bengals videos, let me know down below.